I knew since a young age that I wanted to to public service. It's something that I learned just through my daily experiences as a daughter of a struggling single mom and seeing how hard she worked to support us and just how hard it was to raise kids alone. And I think her strength and determination really inspired me because she could overcome so many odds and give us everything we wanted. And I think she had the skills to negotiate the system, and she did it really well. So she was able to find scholarships for us to attend the summer camp or get the special private lessons because she got us on financial aid. So we still had a lot of the same opportunities that kids that had more money than us had because she was such a good advocate, and she really modeled that advocacy. And
I think for me, also my mother was really the shaping force. My mom was my hero growing up, and she's still my hero now. My mom is a civil rights lawyer. She was an activist. She marched with Martin Luther King in the 60s, and now she spends most of her time advocating for equal rights for women, for people with disabilities, for people who are discriminated against because of their race, their ethnic background, the language they speak. And so my mom, in addition to being a great person, is a great storyteller. And so throughout my childhood, I would hear these stories at the dinner table about the clients that she worked with and the injustices they were facing and the kinds of things that she was doing to help them. And it seemed to me like the most wonderful way imaginable to spend your life. I didn't initially expect to do this work. I actually thought I was going to be an actor and bring theater to the masses and create social change in that way. But along that path, as a college student studying theater, I began to do work in schools, doing theater with children in schools all over New York City. And that's where I really began to see some of the same issues and injustices that my mom was helping to fight playing out in the public school system. And I went on tour, and while I was in a car traveling from one location to another on tour, the car went off the road. There was a horrible car accident. And I got out of the car. I was the only person who sort of walked out of the car. Everyone else was pretty beat up. And I stood there in the rain thinking, do I really care about theater enough to risk my life for it? And I thought, no, those kids that I worked with, that's what's worth risking my life for. And I went back, I went to law school, as my mom had done, but instead of becoming a lawyer, ended up starting this organization with Janna, which has been just the most wonderful, fulfilling way to spend my life. All Our Kin began as a response to welfare reform. Welfare reform placed tremendous pressure on parents of very young children who were receiving public assistance and were home with their babies to enter the workforce very quickly. And we don't have enough childcare in this country, enough safe, adequate childcare, let alone enough wonderful educational childcare. That's what we know our children need to be successful. So what we did was to look at women in low-income communities as assets and sources of strength who could provide this much-needed care. So working with people on public assistance themselves, other low-income women, giving them the tools and the training to open childcares in their communities, to move off of public assistance, but also make it possible for other women to go to work and to be successful.
I think disruptive change is also this idea that we began with and that we continue to work with. Low-income women have value. And I think this is a population of people that looked down upon and not seen as contributing to our community. And we really, from the beginning, always saw the strengths and the power in these women and challenged other people to see that as well. The work of early childhood education is the least valued aspect of education. It's, teachers are paid very little. They're treated as babysitters instead of actual teachers. And we really disrupt that belief and say, in fact, no, these are our most important teachers. This is the most important time in a child's life. Without that foundation, much is lost. And so I think we try to disrupt people's visions of what a childcare teacher is, what a low-income parent or mom is, and what low-income children deserve.
Our very first year, when we first set up All Our Kin, a woman came to us. She wanted to be in the program. She was on public assistance. She had 4 children. Her youngest son was 2. And then she had, I believe, 2 5-year-olds and a 7-year-old. So she was working really hard, and she was an incredibly devoted mom. And she was really excited about coming to All Our Kin, both because she wanted to be a teacher and because she thought the strategies that she learned would make her a better mother. So she came to our program, and I called her worker at the Department of Social Services, said, can you approve her to be in this program? And her worker said, you don't want her. Forget it. She's a program junkie. So I said, what's a program junkie? And he said, well, program junkie is someone who enrolls in program after program, does training after training, never gets a job. Why was she not getting a job? She was being trained in soft skills, and she was being offered jobs working at a McDonald's 60 miles away, where she was spending 2 hours each way on the bus. And she was a mom, first and foremost. And she wasn't willing to miss report card night, and she wasn't willing to miss her child's parent-teacher conference. And the system was getting ready to kick her out. And I said, please, please let me have her. I promise this is the last shot. So he said, fine, whatever.
Good luck.
Good luck. She worked amazingly hard in our program. She ended up graduating and starting a childcare in her church. She was able, through some of the advocacy skills that she had practiced and the confidence she had felt working at All Our Kin, to move her children out of the really lousy public school they were in and get them in a choice program where they got to go to wonderful magnet schools in different parts of our community. Her children are in high school now, and her oldest has just started college. And she's just an amazing person who not only does wonderful work with children, but has inspired and is teaching so many other women. All Our Kin is for people who are desperate to make a change. And I think that's one important lesson that we've learned over the years. When we think about who we're going to work with in our program, it's not the person who walks in necessarily with the most education or the greatest number of skills or even the best attitude. It's the person who most wants to change their life, to change the way they work with kids, to do things differently. And openness for change, that's a gift, and to think of that as a gift, and to think of the moments in your life when you're driven to make those changes. Those are sometimes really hard, scary moments, but they're also opportunity moments.
But I think something that's helped us keep on keeping on has been that we've done it together. And I think, and we have an amazing staff, but I think particularly in the early years, and even now, when things get really hard, I'm so glad I'm not doing this alone. We can close our door. We've been in the same office since the beginning, and I think it just makes it easier. It makes it more fun. I think it makes our work better. We can be more creative. It's a real blessing to be able to have a partner in crime who you can bounce ideas off of. It really is, I think, made All Our Kin grow and constantly improve because we've had each other.
One key part of our work, and the place where we are most disruptive, is encouraging people to see value where we as a society don't look for it. These young children have the ability to really transform our society in 20 or 30 years for good or ill. And the way in which we decide to invest in them and the kinds of opportunities and early learning experiences that we give them are going to make all the difference to the kind of world that we have